In a small but growing number, to the horror of many card advocates, some suppliers have started to charge a surcharge if their customers want to use a credit card to pay. This is sometimes referred to as a merchant surcharge fee or a checkout fee. This is happening in both the consumer space and the B2B world. Industry expert Recharged Education's Lynn Lawson is here today to help us sort out fact from fiction in the surcharge space, as well as what you can and cannot do in this regard. Make sure you stick around until the end when Lynn addresses what to do if you think your supplier is charging a surcharge and they shouldn't be. So, Lynn, let's lay the groundwork as we both like to do. What is a surcharge?
Well, it's, as you alluded to, often called a checkout fee. It is an extra fee, a percentage of the purchase total that a supplier might add to a transaction when the buyer is paying via a credit card. And I should also say, Mary, before we go too deep, that what you and I are talking about today, for our listeners to be aware, I'm referring to things in the United States.
Right.
Because
Okay.
it can vary by country.
Mhm.
But it's important to note that surcharges cannot be applied to debit card and prepaid card transactions.
Okay, so really only credit cards.
Credit cards, and it's a percentage of the purchase total.
Okay. Now, I might be a little bit behind, but I thought this wasn't legal.
Well, in the United States, again, the
Mhm.
practice of surcharging was historically prohibited by the card networks, like Visa, MasterCard, and
Mhm.
so forth, because they have, extensive rules related to card acceptance, that
Mhm.
merchants have to follow. But then back at the beginning of 2013, things changed. They began to allow it, again, with caveats and criteria and other things. And I believe American Express followed later at the end of that year. Now, legal, then you're referring to, also the government side of
Mhm.
things. And that's one thing where if there's a conflict between what the card networks say and a state law, well, of course, state law would prevail. And, way back when surcharging was allowed by the card networks, at that time, more than, well, about 10 years ago, many states had laws that prohibited
Mhm.
surcharging or greatly limited it,
Mhm.
maybe a dozen or so. But as we know, the state laws are continuously changing. Imagine that. And currently, 2023, I believe it's only Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then the territory of Puerto Rico that still prohibit it.
They do. Because I thought, and I could be wrong on this, in Massachusetts, I thought I saw the gas companies charging it.
For, like your home gas use.
No, for gas for the car.
Oh, well, okay, interesting. Maybe
But I
there
could be
are some
I could be
caveats.
wrong. I could be wrong.
Well, every rule has exceptions, so
Oh
who
yeah,
knows?
I know. Okay. So I hear sometimes people calling this a convenience fee, but you say that that's not correct.
Right.
Elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so a convenience fee is different because it would be a fixed amount. So what always comes to my mind is like Ticketmaster that
Hmm.
applies. I don't even know what it is anymore. Let's just say it's five
It's a
dollars.
ridiculous amount.
Okay, all right. Well, they're adding it, and sometimes they might call it, I don't know, service fee,
Yeah,
something like that. But it's a
convenience fee.
fixed amount. Whereas the surcharge is a percentage, and that percentage, will vary, of course, depending on different scenarios. But yeah, convenience fees are different. They're a flat fee, fixed amount, regardless of the amount of the purchase.
Okay. Alrighty. Now, have corporates been balking at the thought of paying this surcharge, and have they been balking at to the extent that they just go back to paying another way, or just usual complaining?
Well, absolutely. I mean, companies can get frustrated when suppliers want to tack on a surcharge for them to use, like their P cards, their purchasing cards.
Hmm.
And do they want to pay another way? Well, I always caution an organization that, well, there are lots of strategies, but let me focus on this one point first, where if you think, okay, if they're going to charge me a surcharge, forget it. I won't use my card, and I'll go off and have them send an invoice, and it'll go
Hmm.
through AP. Well, when you return to that traditional
Hmm.
purchase to pay process, there is a cost associated with that as well. And so, you can have a knee jerk reaction that you don't want to use a card if a surcharge is involved. But there is more to it than just, oh, I'm going to pay a different way. You, again, have to look at the big picture.
Now, what about the accounting requirements? I would think that this might cause some problems, some headaches. Well, maybe not. I could be
You're
wrong.
referring to if a surcharge happens, what should the end user be doing about that from an accounting?
Yes. Yes.
That it's such a good topic, but it's one that in all my years of being, at conferences and talking with end users and training, it really hasn't come up. And so I'm guessing that a lot of, or most end user organizations maybe haven't thought about it or don't have a policy, or even if they have a policy, maybe it doesn't always get followed. Because if a card holder is reviewing a transaction, online, doing their reconciliation process, it might just show, transaction $275, and maybe that includes a surcharge.
Yeah.
And even if the paperwork or receipt shows it, which it should show it, they might just reconcile that full dollar amount to whatever budget or accounting codes apply to the purchase, and off it goes.
So it looks like you paid $105 instead of $102 for the widget.
Yeah, that could be. So
Okay.
just, it's not something that has really come up, but it's a great topic, and probably more organizations should be thinking about that.
My guess is it just gets swept into the cost of the product.
Well, and right, and if the dollar amount is so
Right,
small, then you
right.
have to start thinking about materiality thresholds. Does it
exactly.
become significant enough to try to manage it?
Right,
I
right.
wouldn't
Okay,
think so.
so what should an organization do if a supplier refuses to eliminate a surcharge?
Well, if they refuse to eliminate it, I mean, this is where you have to evaluate, costs against the benefits of card
Mhm.
usage. And, of course, if they refuse to eliminate it, well, first you should be ensuring that they're even following what they're supposed to
Mhm.
do to, legally or not legally, that sounds like a law, or, according to the merchant rules set by the networks, are they doing what they're supposed to do? Okay,
Right.
we'll assume all is well at this point. If they want to do a surcharge, well, you can use a different supplier, and one who wouldn't surcharge, but this might not be possible, and there's still a cost because there's time and effort involved,
Mhm.
with finding or using a different source. You could, use that same supplier but pay a different way,
Right.
and like the option I just mentioned, there's costs related to that. It could mean you have to set that supplier up in your AP system in the master vendor file if they're not already there, and there's a cost to that. There is a cost in terms of 1099 reporting if that were
Right.
to apply.
Right.
You'd be losing out on the benefits of card usage. So that it's an option. Or a third option would be using the supplier and just going ahead and paying the surcharge. If you've determined that you can save more through the process savings that are known to be great, in a
Mhm.
streamlined P card purchase to pay or P2P process is used, and then potentially a rebate earned on the transaction. Those things could outweigh the surcharge amount. So,
Mhm.
three different options really, and every organization needs to decide, what's the best strategy for them.
Okay. What should you do if you think the supplier is charging a surcharge, either that they don't have the right to charge, or they're charging incorrectly, or they're charging too much? Because if I understand this correctly, they can't charge more than their fee.
Right. And, it goes without saying, too, we talked about state laws always
Mhm.
changing.
Right.
Well, the card networks rules are also subject to change. And there's so many different nuances related to this. And I can say that if you're looking for Visa or MasterCard's merchant surcharge rules, you can do a simple, internet search and find those. But before you get all worked up that they're doing it incorrectly, I
Mhm.
mean, I guess make sure you have the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There are things that every
Yes.
supplier has to do before starting to surcharge, such as there has to be a notification, and this could mean just to the merchant acquirer, or maybe it's the acquirer and the network.
Mhm.
Again, rules vary depending on the card network. They have to have all the appropriate notifications and signage and things to the buyers, whether it's in person or even online. At certain points, designated points in the process, they have to be able to, display the surcharge amount on a receipt. So you've got all these factors going on, and there, as you kind of indicated, there's a cap to the percentage that they can tack on. But if an end user or the buyer knows that that supplier is not doing what they're supposed to do, and it even violates a state law, depends on,
Mhm.
again, then my suggestion would be go to your card issuer and see what they suggest. It's my understanding that the card networks have a way to report merchant violations on any number of issues, not just surcharging. But I would say, with your card issuers partnership, it would be good to go to them first. And the
Mhm.
card networks are actively looking for violations, and suppliers can be, imposed a fee or a penalty for doing something they're not supposed to be doing. So it's not like everything just gets ignored and things move on. But it depends on the situation, as everything does.
Do you think we're going to run into this more frequently as time goes on?
Well, I do, and I think mainly, there's a never-ending conflict. I don't know. I was trying to choose my words carefully, but
Right.
between suppliers are paying a cost to accept cards for
Right.
payment, and we know that in many cases, end user organizations receive a rebate
Mhm.
for card usage, and that can be a kind of a sore point between the two. But then also, I mean, there's been studies that have really dived deep into the fact that suppliers can receive benefits from card acceptance that outweigh the fees
Right.
of acceptance.
Right.
And so that would be a talking point that, before you reach a point of contention with your supplier. And again, if it's a onesie twosie supplier, maybe you're not going to enter
Right.
into a deep dialogue. But if it's a partner, you want to ask them, have they considered the benefits, and have
Right.
they considered that your organization might go to a different supplier who doesn't surcharge?
Right.
Talk with them about the benefits, and really try to have an open dialogue. And then two, before you even, for more strategic suppliers for which you're developing a contract, put right in the contract that you are not going to accept
Right.
any
Right.
surcharges, and then monitor for it.
It wasn't until you talked about what the other benefits were that I realized two of the plant groups that I'm associated with, there's much smaller businesses, if you will. When they started taking credit cards, they saw their plant sales not double, but go up by a humongous percentage, just because they were taking credit cards.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, with everything, there are so many variables. What is the supplier's business, and
Hmm.
what are they hoping for, and
Right.
are they competing against many suppliers, or maybe they're a sole source, for
Right.
your organization. So, who kind of has more, I guess, pull in the
Right.
relationship. But
Right. Who's got
yeah,
more to lose?
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There's,
All
there's a
right.
lot of considerations. It's
There.
not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
flat out, do you take a surcharge or not, or do you impose one or not? There's
Hmm.
things suppliers have to do. There's considerations for both buyers and suppliers.
Hmm. So surcharges aren't the only issue that sometimes leads to misunderstandings when it comes to card. Card issuers have created a number of new types of cards, and this can be quite confusing to understand what each is and how they should be used. Lynn recently joined us to clarify the different types of cards, and I think you'll be amazed when you discover the different types. You can watch it right now using the link that will appear momentarily on your YouTube screen and is in the description below. As always, we appreciate your thumbs up as they help us grow.